Today we're going to watch Deep Signal Trade Analyzer in action inside NinjaTrader. We're going to use the Deep Signal Rincos with a brick size of 12, 50% open offset, and 100% reversal. For this demo, we're going to use Deep Signal Cobra as an input into the Deep Signal Trade Analyzer. You can also use a strategy as input with the inter-long or inter-short trade analyzer methods, using the Trade Analyzer indicator in your strategy. Here we are going to select the field next to the input series called Edit Input. This will allow us to add Deep Signal Cobra as an input. Trade Analyzer can use an indicator as input if the indicator provides a +1 or greater for a long trade entry, or -1 or less for a short trade entry. Trade Analyzer uses the trade entries to compute statistics that can optimize your trades. There is a parameter in Deep Signal Cobra called plot type that can be changed to either points, which is the traditional points plot, or the trade signal selection, which will plot a +1 for long trades when the plot points goes above the minimum long trade threshold, or it will plot -1 for short trades when the plot points goes below the minimum short trade threshold. Now we're going to add in 2 instances of Cobra so that we can look at the traditional points plot as well as the trade signal plot. We will change the plot type to trade signal for the second instance. Trade Analyzer works alongside your signal generator, whether that's Cobra or your own strategy. It evaluates each trade after entry and tracks how price behaves over the life of that trade. This is important. Trade Analyzer is not predicting, it's measuring. It builds a statistical profile of how your edge actually performs. The lowest indicator on the chart has Cobra using the plot type of trade signal. You'll notice that there are green lines that rise up to +1 and red lines fall to -1. The green lines are long trade signals and the red lines are short trade signals. The long trade signals are based on if the Cobra points are above the minimum long threshold, right before the candle color turns from red to green. The minimum Cobra points needs to be at the turning point for the trend. Otherwise, we expect a trend continuation. When we get a trade signal, Trade Analyzer begins monitoring each bar. The number of bars watched depends on the Trade Analyzer parameter, horizon. At the end of the horizon number of bars, Trade Analyzer will adjust the MFE and MAE for either the long or short trade entry, which will be updated in the indicator plot. At the core of Trade Analyzer are 2 metrics. MFE, Maximum Favorable Excursion, how far price moves in your favor after entry. MAE, Maximum Adverse Excursion, how far price moves against you before the trade resolves. Together, these define the true behavior of your trades. Think of it this way. MFE shows your opportunity ceiling, MAE shows your risk tolerance requirement. Every trade lives somewhere inside this relationship. In this chart, the horizon is set at 10 bars. At about 7:03, we get a long signal, and at the end of the horizon, 10 bars later, the MFE and MAE for the long plot are updated to reflect new calculations. Use Maximum Favorable Excursion, MFE, to guide your profit targets, not guesswork. Think of MFE as a map of how far price typically moves in your favor after entry. For a conservative approach, target around 50 to 70% of your average MFE. This increases your win rate and produces a smoother equity curve. For a balanced approach, aim for 70 to 90% of average MFE. This is often the optimal zone for maximizing expectancy. For a more aggressive strategy, target 90 to 120% of average MFE. This can produce larger winning trades, but with a lower win rate. One key rule: if your profit target consistently exceeds what MFE typically delivers, your strategy becomes dependent on rare outlier trades to succeed. And over time, that's not a reliable edge. Maximum Adverse Excursion defines how much heat your setup naturally takes. It shows how far price typically moves against you before a trade either recovers or fails. If your stop is too tight, set below the typical MAE, you'll often exit trades prematurely, cutting them off before they have a chance to work. A balance stop, placed near the average MAE, aligns with the natural behavior of your trades and allows normal fluctuations without unnecessary exits. If your stop is too loose, far beyond the typical MAE, it usually doesn't improve your win rate and instead increases the size of your losses. Here's the key insight. Once a trade exceeds its normal MAE range, the probability of recovery drops significantly. The MFE versus MAE scatter plot visualizes every trade as a single point. The horizontal axis represents MAE, how far price moves against you. The vertical axis represents MFE, how far price moves in your favor. This creates a clear map of your trade behavior. When you see tight clusters with high MFE and low MAE, those are high-quality setups, trades that move quickly in your favor with minimal drawdown. If trades show high MAE and low MFE, they're inefficient and often not worth taking. And if the points are widely scattered, it indicates an inconsistent edge. This visualization helps you quickly identify which trades are worth taking and which ones to avoid. A trade cluster plot groups your trades into behavior-based patterns, helping you quickly see which setups perform best. Each cluster includes key statistics. Trade count shows how often the pattern occurs, giving confidence in the data. Win rate reflects consistency, how often those trades succeed. And MFE first percent measures timing, how often trades move into profit before drawdown. Focus on clusters with strong sample size, high win rate, and high MFE first behavior, and avoid the ones that don't. The summary window in Deep Signal Trade Analyzer gives you a complete, high-level view of your trading performance. It consolidates all of your key statistics into one place, so instead of analyzing trades individually, you can immediately understand how your strategy behaves as a whole. You'll see metrics like win rate, average MFE and MAE, frontier analysis, ordering analysis, and overall expectancy, helping you quantify both your edge and your risk. Deep Signal Trade Analyzer transforms your trading from assumption to evidence. MFE tells you what's possible. MAE tells you what it costs. And once you understand both, you can design entries, exits, and risk management around how your trades actually behave, turning your history into a measurable, repeatable edge.